And we are back for another episode of Cogs in a Machine, y'all. Welcome back to episode 44. I'm going to talk about Nintendo Studios this week, first party studios. Don't forget, tomorrow, ladies' night, we're having an all girls show tomorrow on Take Two or 2XP. And then Saturday, because days, whatever, they all blend together. Saturday is our subathon. We will be starting at 9 a.m. CST for all the streaming goodness. We'll be giving away game codes, Game Pass, PlayStation codes, all kinds of stuff that you guys are going to absolutely love and come hang out with us for a bit. You know me, I'm the floor hugger. Chacalaca, how you doing this week?
You know what's kind of funny is I actually completely forgot that tomorrow night is ladies' night. I even said on last night's stream on the end of the game stream, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna be on this week. You'll be on Cogs today. I'll be on Double XP on Wednesday and the subathon on Saturday." But now that's one less thing for me to worry about. I get to take a Wednesday off, which is very nice.
Right? Sometimes you just got to have a week off just to yourself,
Yeah.
just be like, this is a lot to do.
I'm just gonna play God of War. Let's not be let's it's not much of a break. It's still gonna be fun either way. But
Hey,
yeah, I got a
that's how
lot of
we
games to
play.
play. Got
Yeah?
I got like three games to play concurrently if I'm playing it right. I'm playing South Park for my Ready Press Plays spoiler cast. Then I gotta play God of War also for this Ready Press Play spoiler cast, but that's gonna be later on. And I feel like there's a third game, but I can't remember what it is. It's just a lot to balance. It's like a juggling
Jesus. No, I'm good. I don't know how you do it.
act. Actually, I got to play Smash Brothers. That's what it is. Like, I got to start playing Smash Brothers more seriously because I'm actually going to go to a tournament in January. So, if I'm going to be ready for that tournament, I got to be on my A game.
That's true.
Especially after the disgrace that was that one time, that one Monday I did where I streamed Smash and I'm getting my ass beat. I should totally get back on my A game.
You didn't get your ass beat. It's just, you know,
I think I had like a 30 to 40% win rate. I mean, it's not that bad. I might be overstating it, but it was still pretty bad. Bad for my standards.
of course. And Chakalaka keeps himself to some ridiculously high standards.
But yeah, no, I'm actually kind of on my end here. Hey, Zesty Lemon, hello. I'm actually
Lemon.
kind of just scrambling here. I was trying to write the script down. Honestly, the rabbit hole is actually much deeper than well, actually, I take that back. I knew the rabbit hole was deep, and I didn't set aside time to research like I normally do. Like especially with the topic this big, I like to
Yeah.
have like all my bullet points, my little flow chart ready to go. But I
Yeah.
did spend the last hour before the show just researching and transcribing shit, going all over the place. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna sort of wing it. I don't have any resources ready to go to put up on screen for now. Let me just pull up Nintendo's Wikipedia because I'll just sort of figure it out and make it up as I go, and maybe I could just stop putting up images up on screen as I talk about it. But
Yeah.
basically, Nintendo has this weird structure when it comes to development for games. It's not quite you know how PlayStation has the studio system and they have this name of this like Sucker Punch, Naughty Dog, and this and
Yeah.
that. It's very kind of straightforward. Nintendo doesn't quite have that same thing going on here. As a matter of fact, I got it here on screen. This is the three big bullet points is Nintendo Entertainment Planning and Development, or EPD,
Hmm.
Nintendo Platform Technology Development, or PTD, and Nintendo Business Development, NBD. Those are the three main pillars, and then they just sort of branch off from there, as well as some studios that don't fall under that umbrella. I'm gonna just sort of walk you through it and just sort of take you through this journey of how things sort of coalesced.
Okay.
And it's gonna answer some questions here because I think by the end of this, I'll actually be able to explain in a nutshell why Nintendo just doesn't make the game that we want us to make. If you ever ask yourself, Nintendo, just fucking make a F-Zero game,
Yeah.
then you'll sort of understand why that isn't quite as easy as just saying, oh, just make an F-Zero game. Just just make a Metroid game. You know.
Because they can never do
Uh,
anything simple.
yes, exactly. All
What's
right.
up, Willie? What's up, Philly?
Oh, hello, hello. All right, so here we go. Let's start off with googling. Let's see here. Let's Google Nintendo R and D1. There we go. Let's go with that and see what comes up. Oh, look, they got a whole Wikipedia. I like that. Let's go with that.
Oof, I love
Uh,
Wikipedia.
okay, R&D1 is the oldest video game development team from Nintendo. Okay, so they are notable for creating the Metroid series, the Mario Brothers series, and the Donkey Kong series. They're also responsible for the Game Boy line, which released in 1989.
Oh,
So,
Jesus.
all right, here we go. R&D1 is basically they tend to like focus on like software. They tend to make these legacy franchises. They started off with like the Game and Watch stuff like that. They also were responsible for the Virtual Boy. They basically created a lot of like firsts, especially with them being R&D1. So let's see here. These are the actual games that they made. So let's start off here. So Mario Brothers was like the that like this
The classic.
this is R&D1. That's like one of the very first things that they're known for. So we got that, and let's see here. We have a Donkey Kong 3. They made a Popeye. They made Ice Climb versus Ice Climbers.
Damn.
A bunch of Game and Watch games. Let's see here. Oh, and then they just sort of stopped in '85. Um, let's see here. We got Balloon Fight, Ice Climbers, Wrecking Crew, Metroid, Kid Icarus,
Oh,
Tetris, Super Mario Land, Doctor Mario,
good one.
um, Clue Land, Metroid 2 for the Game Boy, Wario's Wood, Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. So as you can see, like R&D1, they are like the, I guess
What we
like
know
the
as Nintendo.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They're the S tiers. They're like the big dogs. But they were sort of rivaled by somebody else actually, and I'll get to them in a second. But just basically, every division had a lane, and everyone stayed in their lane. So if you create that franchise, you're the separate of that franchise, and no one gets it. So
Interesting.
R&D1, they're like, we got this. We're the Mario team because we made it. You know that kind of stuff.
I mean, that
All
makes
right.
sense. I wouldn't want to see anybody but Insomniac make a Spider-Man game until I know they can like really handle it. So that makes sense. But it's also back
It's
in the
like
'80s.
yeah, so it's like kind of like with Tomb Raider. What happened with like the Rise of the Tomb Raider or Shadow of
Oh
the Tomb
yeah,
Raider? It's like when it changes hands, it's like, ooh, do we really
something
like
ain't
that?
right
You know.
here.
Yeah. So we have
Okay,
that.
okay.
R&D2, they focused on like hardware development. So they actually made like the NES and the Super Nintendo. They actually also made a lot of ports. So they weren't really like a big team. So let's see here. Let's go with R&D2. See if we have let's see. Let's go with copying. Let's make it easier. So you just copy and paste.
What's up, Wayne? And fame is right. We said it at the top of the show, but for those that are coming in now, we will be giving a shit ton of codes away, game codes, PSN codes, PlayStation, nope, same thing, Xbox codes, Saturday, 9 a.m. CST. Fame is going to kick it off with our subathon. There's going to be multiple people that come through. Sometimes it's going to be talking, sometimes it's going to be video games. There's going to be a shenanigan in all of them. Come and join us for that long, long day of 12 hours, give or take, of streaming and enjoy everything we're all gonna play. And yes, I will be streaming too. So, and it's a horror game, and y'all know how that's gonna go, assholes.
Your Canadian is showing, Pugger.
Oh,
uh,
sorry there, bud. Me and Lemon,
yeah.
bud. Hey,
All
bud.
right. So, as I stated, R&D2, they generally tended to make ports. So if you actually look at this list here, we have Donkey Kong, which was a port from the arcade because it started off as an arcade game. Then you have Donkey Kong
Mhm.
Jr. Um, we have some original games. So I see NES Open Tournament Golf. I think that was not a port. Super Mario Brothers Deluxe was a port an NES port to the Game Boy Color. Super Mario Advance was also a Game Boy Advance port. Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, Advance 4, Mario Brothers 3 ports. Damn, they made all four of them actually.
Damn.
All four Mario Advance. The only one I can see that's original is actually no, I take that back. A Link to the Past and Four Swords. It was like a port plus an extra game in there. It was like kind of two in one. Um,
Okay.
So yeah, they generally tended to make ports, but they usually I think their main thing was developing the hardware. So they made the NES, they made the Super Nintendo, they made the Satellaview of all things. What the hell?
Wow.
Even before the NES, they made the color TV games, which are like basically like old like Pong clones. I don't know if you remember this. Do you know what the color TVs are?
I've heard of them in like watching documentaries, but I don't think I've ever seen like gameplay from them.
So color TV game, which is like a whole line of them, like it was
Yeah.
various, like it had like different ones, like 6, 7, 8, and 9 or whatever. They were basically um, just light on the screen, like on a television screen. It's kind of like Pong, but very
Was
variations of them.
they the ones where they came with the TV screen? So it's like you could play Pong or you could play ice hockey.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. Okay.
Yes,
Wow.
exactly.
Wow.
S-
I don't know why I remember that. Of all the things I can remember from that. Yeah. Okay.
So the color TV game. So again, R&D 2 was the old, basically think old hardware,
Mhm.
and then you go to R&D 3, which is actually newer hardware. So R&D 3 was actually a hardware team. They didn't really make much games. Well, actually, they take that back. They did, but not very many. They were mostly focusing on researching and developing the Nintendo 64, the GameCube, the Wii, etc., etc. So let's see here. Let's
Remember
go
when
with that.
studios used to have in-house ports, or like the publishers and stuff used to have in-house port studios? Now they just well they're starting to get back to it now, but now they just ship it off to somebody else. Look at the PlayStation ports when they came to PC. I remember the
Mhm.
problems with Horizon. It was real bad, like awful. The Dark Knight, no,
Mhm.
not Dark Knight. Gotham Knight, no.
Arkham Asylum. Oh wait, Arkham Knight.
Arkham
Arkham
Knight,
Knight. Yeah.
yep. That
Yes.
one still plays like shit on PC. I don't know
So
what they did with that.
why didn't Rocksteady co-develop it with PC and console in mind? Like why couldn't they? Because like I'm assuming that they're developing on PCs, right? And then they're just porting it to the console. Why couldn't it work? Why isn't it working backwards or something like that? I don't understand.
That's what I mean. We'd have to bring in one of our dev friends to ask them that, because everybody for PC. I guess Snips brought up a good point. For PC, for consoles, there is 3 or 4 versions of that console that you have to develop for. You got your
Hmm.
PlayStation Pros, your base PlayStations, and maybe the slim PlayStations that come out. For
Yes.
PC, you have thousands of different combinations because somebody could have a different RAM than you that doesn't, the CPU is different, the hard drives are
There.
different. So
Apparently, like people are still running like the GTX 10, the 1000 series or whatever.
still running a 980, baby, 980
Yeah.
Ti.
So basically, like you have to basically have your next gen PC games running on like 2 gen old hardware,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's really hard. I could just imagine that that's just like a nightmare
I
to
think
like
even
keep
the
everything in
newest
mind.
Call of Duty is still accounting for the 700 series cards or
Oh
maybe
my
the 800
god!
series because they have to. Some people graphics cards you can't get them or they're so expensive. It is cheaper
All
for
right,
me to buy a brand new PC right now than to buy a graphics card on its own. And I
fuck.
don't get
Okay.
that.
I think the 1080 Ti was a king of its day, right?
Hmm.
Granted, I would say probably like it's got to go, but I feel like that has to be the bare minimum at this point. Like if you're going under 1080, ooh, yeah, I
But
don't know.
you can't even get a 30s, and you can't. The 2080s people don't like, and the 30 series
Oh,
people don't. You can't get in
yeah,
most
yeah,
places. The 40
true.
4000 series just dropped, so those are expensive
Hmm.
as all hell.
Yeah.
And if you get AMD, those are different too. And it's like there's just so many combinations on PC that is. I don't blame them when it doesn't run smoothly.
Mm.
I get upset, but it's just like
Yeah.
there's not much you can do.
I don't know. I still have my 2080 Ti from 2015, and I think that's like it's actually kind of 7 years old. Holy shit! Was it?
Yep.
Oh no, was it 2015 when they came out or 2018? I can't remember. I think it was 2015. I think.
It,
Shit.
2015.
All
Somebody
right.
will tell us. What's
All right.
up,
Here we
Don?
go.
Bonjour, mon ami.
2080. Okay, my bet. 2018. Ti
The
release
years
date.
blend so close together since the last panoramic. I
2018.
don't know. Damn.
There you go. Yeah, I got it. I got it day one. And so yeah,
Of
okay,
course you
so I'm
did.
on 4 years. Not too bad.
Of
Um
course you did.
that was my first ever like graphics card that I bought day one. Like before that I was like in the 500s, like the GTX 5 something.
Right?
So it was a huge leap.
If it works, it works at that point.
Let's see here. So as you can see here, they made the Nintendo 64 hardware, they made the GameCube hardware, they made the Wii hardware, as well as like the Wii remotes, the Wii Motion Plus, Classic Controller Pro, the Zapper, all that stuff. They make hardware. Some of the games that they did make actually were back in the day here. So you can see that they made like the Mike Tyson's Punch Out, they made
Great
Star
game.
Tropics, they made Super Punch Out, they made Pilot Wings 64. So yeah, as you
Damn.
can see, well, they're still making hardware up until the 3DS. Like the new 3DS XL was their last thing. It's not to say
So
that they didn't make the switch or anything like that. It's just because I'm gonna, future stuff here. They're gonna rebrand and restructure
I was
so
about
that
to ask,
this,
is any of
yeah,
these
they don't.
R&Ds still making stuff, or is it just brand new companies now?
They were restructured twice, actually. Like all of
Damn.
the R&Ds don't exist anymore. They're like renamed and rebranded and consolidated, and then they got renamed and rebranded, consolidated again. So.
Okay, Nintendo just
So
does what it wants.
we're far removed from it. Again, it's a progression thing. We're getting there. This is the 80s or 90s we're talking about here. So
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, it was a rabbit hole and I couldn't script it all out in an hour, so we're just sort of going with it. Um, and finally, like the big crowning jewel is actually R&D 4. So, and when it comes to R&D ones, two, three, I told you about, two did old hardware, three did new hardware.
Mhm.
One did software, but four also did software. And I would say four is probably like the tastemaker, like the big one, because they did the Super Mario Brothers series, they did Legend of Zelda series, they made F
The
Zero.
big
They
boys.
were basically top dog when it comes to like stuff. They made Star Fox 64. They invented Animal Crossing and Pikmin. Um, they made the Wii games like Wii Sports, stuff like
All the
that. So,
icons.
oh yeah, basically. And EAD, of course, was of course being shepherded by Miyamoto himself.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Hey, yo,
Um,
Don. What you on about, Don? Comme si, yeah. Très bien. He says, I haven't used the home CPU since I could download porn on my phone. Hey, yo. That seems like an overshare moment, mon ami.
oh my God.
Okay, confirm Don just watches porn on his phone. That's it.
Hmm. Yep.
Somebody grab that man's phone and go through his search history.
Okay. All right. So now that we have a good early like start as to how Nintendo started things off here. R and
Yeah.
D one, two, three, and four handled everything. Okay. And now I'd say that was a pretty good structure. Think about what they did. They did NES and Super Nintendo and Game Boy games.
Yeah.
Game development back then was very easy, simple, and not complicated at all. But what happens when you start throwing in 3D game development? The Nintendo 64.
That was a rough
Suddenly,
period for a lot of studios.
suddenly you are not able to quite produce content like the way you could, like in those the 2D era and
Mhm.
sprites and stuff like that. You got to start like basically having all of your internal teams learn how to develop again. So you have to like basically do 3D polygons and assets and stuff like that and models and textures and
Ugh.
all game design had to be like rethought, like how do you design in 3D. So um yeah, that's sort of how you it sort of just it sort of just gets a little bit crazy and hard to manage. So what happens is the Nintendo 64 had a lot of things that went wrong with it. One of the big things is they stuck with cartridges instead of going to CD-ROMs.
Mhm.
And in doing so, they lost a lot of third parties. So like I think there was a Castlevania on the 64, but they didn't get Symphony of the Night. It went to PlayStation. Metal Gear
Yeah.
was on the NES, but it didn't go to the Nintendo 64. It went to PlayStation. Final Fantasy 6 was on Super Nintendo, but Final Fantasy 7 went to PlayStation. So a lot of third parties were jumping ship and going to PlayStation. And also Nintendo didn't quite have the output necessary to continue to, do it all on their own. They needed someone.
Mhm.
Luckily, they did have Rareware. Rare was one of the most prolific developers for the Nintendo 64 as far
Hmm.
as just number of games that they developed. So they had like what is it, that Glover game? They had Donkey Kong 64. They had Conquer. Um,
Man, Conquer.
they had Diddy Kong Racing. Like I think there was another one. I think they had obviously like 007 and like Perfect Dark and Perfect. Well, is there a Perfect Dark 2 on N64? No, no, it wasn't. Not on N64.
There's 3 Perfect Dark games, I think.
Yeah, I don't
Because I
know
know
if
there's
there
one for
was a
the
Perfect Dark
360.
2. I know
I don't
Perfect
know.
Dark 2 exists, but I don't know if it was an Nintendo 64 game or just a different game. But whatever. But either way, I just listed off six motherfucking ass games that came out by one developer.
Yes.
And so basically like Rare really like was burdening the weight of the Nintendo 64. As a matter of fact, I would dare I say the Nintendo 64 is defined by Rare games.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Mario or Rare. That's it.
yeah.
That I can think of like
Exactly.
off the top of my head.
So So yeah, we had so development structure had to change due to the shift to 3D. So third party skipped for in favor of PlayStation. Rare actually was not owned by Nintendo. They actually owned 49% of the company, which
Oh,
is stupid. Like what the fuck? They did not own a controlling share of the company. So
you got to wonder what the decision was back then to not own a controlling. There had to be something. Maybe it was like here when what was it? Vivaldi was buying up Ubisoft, and the Canadian government stepped in and said either you vote for to take over the whole company, or you have to give up all your shares. And Vivaldi gave up all their shares because they didn't want to make a controlling bid. So
uh-huh.
if you own 49%, you're not owning the whole company. You're just owning a little bit, just a little bit, teeny bit.
So yeah, like I just think, well, first off, at least when Microsoft did buy out Rare, like Nintendo got paid, right?
Mhm.
49%. Which is kind of cool. I mean, but I feel like there was like a huge unforced error on Nintendo's part because, you know, Nintendo made games even to the GameCube, by the way. Like they made like they were in development for like a Diddy Kong Racing 2. Um there was a lot of canceled games that came about when Nintendo when Microsoft bought out Rare. Um but
Damn.
yeah, it just sucks. Um it's I don't know why, but Nintendo didn't want to have any kind of financial responsibility for Rare. And the
No.
reason why Rare sold was because they were hurting for money and they needed money. They needed capital, and Nintendo wasn't willing to play ball. So,
there there's so much gaming what ifs. Like, what if BioWare had never gone to EA? What would BioWare be? That's another big one up there. What if Nintendo had bought Rare? But I
or
don't
at
know
the
if we would
very
have looked
least, got to
Fondy.
51% and didn't
50
sell.
exactly. Like Lemon says, 51% or bust. Like, don't
All right,
half-ass this.
let's see here.
Rare made some
Okay, no, that's
banging
not it.
games.
Okay, here we go. Conker's Bad for a Day, Banjo Kazooie, Banjo Tooie, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye 007, Perfect Dark, Star Gemini, I think that's what it's called. I can't see what that is. Mickey Speedway USA, Killer Instinct Gold,
Killer
Donkey Kong
Instinct.
64, and I can't see what that is. Let me just zoom in on this. I need to know what that is. Uh, yeah. Blast Core.
Huh.
Did not know about that one. But yeah, that's all. That's what say 9, 10, 11 games by one company in one
That
console
literally
generation. Well, that
defined
started
the
from
generation.
1996 to 2000. So 2001, I guess, if you want to go into GameCube territory.
That's
But
a
damn.
shit ton of games in such a short amount. I mean, look at us now. God of War came out in 2018. It's just come out now, and they probably started development at the same time as God of War, the first one. Like
Hmm.
that's to put out 11
In the
games
in the
from
time
'96.
in the time
Yeah,
from like God of War 2018 to like to God of War Ragnarok, 4.5 years. Rare shot out 11 games.
yeah,
And half of which are like generation defining.
exactly.
Yeah.
And most of them, like, okay, GoldenEye, Perfect Dark, you can kind of say they use the same mechanics, yes, but they're not. They don't
Hmm.
use the same assets or nothing. The Donkey Kongs you can get away with and stuff, but like most of them are just. That's a lot of talk about burnout. Holy shit! And crunch. I can't imagine 11 games. Damn, and we complain about our turnover cycles. We should just shut the hell
Yeah.
up. Damn.
So yeah, so yeah, so basically, there was going to be a shuffle, like a change in the development structure that was going to happen, like with R&D 1, 2, and 3, and 4. However, it didn't quite happen until after the Nintendo 64 generation and like midway into the GameCube. So in the GameCube generation, there actually was rushed games. I don't know if you've ever played the Wind Waker, but
Yeah.
there was obviously obvious cut content even when you play the game. So like for instance, one of the dungeons, you just go inside and they give you the thing and then you walk right back out. That's clearly a dungeon that was supposed to happen, but they just didn't do it.
Yeah.
Like the water dungeon just got cut. Retro Studios is actually formed. So let's go to Retro Studios' Wikipedia. Um, Retro Studios was, I believe, in Texas, if I'm not mistaken, my home territory.
Texas.
Yes, Austin, Texas. All right, it was founded
Hell
in
yeah.
1998. Um, and in this was a weird situation where I guess somehow they got a meeting with Nintendo and they were able to pitch Nintendo and they were greenlit to make the Metroid Prime 1 like, and when they made Metroid Prime 1, it was actually they were a third party developer. They were not owned by Nintendo in any way, shape, or form. It wasn't until 6 months after Metroid Prime 1 came out that Nintendo acquired Retro Studios for $1 million.
This is Nintendo's world, and we're all just living in it.
So it says here in February 2001, the company ended development for on both NFL Retro Football and Thunder Rally, laying off about 20 employees. Although Retro demonstrated Raven Blade at E3 2001, the development team was plagued by technical setbacks. In July 2001, Retro canceled the project, retaining only 9 members of the team to work on Metroid Prime. On May 3rd, 2002, Nintendo secured $1 million worth of Retro stocks and reclassified the company as a first party developer division of Nintendo.
$1
Hmm.
million for $1 million for all that history.
Okay, so here's the thing. During the final 9 months of Retro Prime's development, Retro staff worked 80 to 100 hours per week to reach the final milestone. Despite its troubled production cycle and initial skepticism from fans, the game was released in November of 2002. Oh, it was 6 months prior? 6 months prior to the release of Metroid Prime 1. Okay, okay. My bad. I thought it was the opposite.
Jesus.
It was released in November of 2002 in North America to universal acclaim and critical success and commercial success, yada, 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 selling over 2 million units. Okay, so apparently, Retro Studios, because of the crunch culture that they were working in, they actually needed the money, the $1 million, or they would bust. They had to.
Oh
That's
wow.
like the only way that that company would have folded if it wasn't for Nintendo. It sucked that they had a crunch culture. I hope they fixed it. I would assume so,
Yeah.
especially under Nintendo's leadership. But yes, that happened. And let's see here. Also, during the GameCube generation, um, the old way of development with like R&D 1 to 4 was phased out. But there was during the GameCube generation, the Game Boy Advance is also relevant. So you
Mhm.
have the last like breaths of that old way of making games. So games like Wario Land 4 and Metroid Fusion were part of that R&D group stuff. As a matter
Okay.
of fact, Metroid Fusion came out on the same day as Metroid Prime 1.
Damn. That's like when Assassin's Creed Unity and Assassin's Creed Rogue came out at the same day. But I don't know anybody that else that has ever played Rogue.
Yeah. So here we go. In 2003, which is the middle of the GameCube generation, the late Satoru Iwata made the decision to dissolve Nintendo Studios. R&D 1 and R&D 2 became Software Planning and Development, or just SPD for short. Okay.
You know, they're they really got to work on their name. I mean, the naming conventions, it says what it is. It's short and to the point. But like, damn, that's boring. You could literally name it anything else.
Yeah, so SPD. All right, here we go. So RND3 became Nintendo IRD, which let's find out what Nintendo IRD is. I don't even know what that stands for. Nintendo
Nintendo
IRD.
Infrared Department.
Integrated Research and Development.
Damn, I was close.
Let's see here. IRD focused on hardware. So let's see here. I guess they would have probably made the interesting. They made the Wii U, but like this is really interesting. Who the hell made the Switch? It doesn't say, but I assume. Actually, you know what? They got rebranded again. Makes sense. The last thing they made was in 2014, so they got rebranded in 2015. So that actually makes sense. Um,
Jesus.
yeah, I told you. Remember, I told you they got consolidated twice, and I'm only going to the first consolidation.
Yeah.
So,
Oh
okay.
my god.
So that actually makes sense. That actually tracks on this Wikipedia article. Uh,
Okay.
all right. So IRD, they focused on hardware, and R&D4 became Nintendo's only major in-house developer, and they became Nintendo EAD. Did you? I've heard of that name before prior to this thing. Like I knew Nintendo EAD by name,
Yeah.
especially because I was a Wii U owner, and I was like looking forward to whatever EAD was working on. And I actually didn't even know that they got rebranded. I thought EAD still existed, but that's not true.
Oh
But did
shit.
you know?
No, all of this is a surprise to me. Nintendo is just they are off in their own little world. Bless their hearts.
Let's
I
see
mean,
here. Let's see what I
we
do.
we
What I
totally
do.
let them sell us cardboard peripherals with the Labos and people were fine with it. So we just kind of let Nintendo get away with shit.
Here we go. It's Entertainment Analysis and Development. That's what EAD stands for.
I hate their naming conventions. I hate them. I get it. It's to the point, but I hate it.
Yes, EAD
Hate
made
it.
Mario Galaxy 1 and 2.
Banging games.
Exactly. Yeah. Banging games.
Okay.
Top tier.
They get a
Um,
pass. They get a pass. Those are really good games.
yeah. They made the
Captain
3D
Toad.
Land.
Oh,
Captain Toad.
Captain Toad was fire.
Yoshi's Woolly World. Yeah. EAD was basically like your S tier stuff. So Pikmin, Animal Animal Crossing, Wii
Yeah.
Sports, stuff like that.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Let's see here. Then, so Nintendo EAD handled all of Nintendo's important franchises: Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Pikmin, etc. Every now and again, EAD makes new IP such as Wii Sports and Nintendogs. Now, going back to SPD, Software Planning and Development,
Yeah.
um, R&D1 and R&D2 became SPD. So SPD actually, they didn't actually make games much. They did, but SPD was again software planning. That's like so what they did was they actually reached out to third parties and licensed out and pimped out the IP, Nintendo IP for third parties to make.
Damn. Okay.
Okay, so here we go.
Damn.
Let's sort of like bring it all together, okay? Because this is going to answer the questions like why doesn't Nintendo just make X game?
Yeah.
It's because they tend to emphasize the SPD model of making games. Okay, I'm gonna break it down for you here. So Nintendo had learned that partnering with studios was important, but instead of acquiring them, it would be
Mhm.
actually healthier just to collaborate with them instead. So SPD would sometimes do their own development, such as the Rhythm Heaven series, but they were mostly focused on collaboration. They did participate in the WarioWare series, but most of the development was actually handled by Intelligent Systems, and they were just sort of like there helping out. Basically, anything that was made by R&D1, R&D2, and R&D3 was ripe for pimping out. Okay, so
Okay.
some franchises uh, that were pimped out were like the Star Fox series. Actually, Star Fox 64 was made by R&D4, so that's actually an exception, right?
Hmm.
So Star Fox 64 was made by R&D4, but they got pimped out. So Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube was made by Rare. Star
Oh.
Fox Assault for the GameCube was made by Bandai Namco. Star Fox Command for the DS and Star Fox 64 3D for the 3DS were made by Q Games. Okay.
Damn,
And then
okay.
Star Fox Zero for the Wii U, the game that we hated on because Nintendo spent 10 minutes on an E3 presentation. Star
They
Fox
spent so long.
Zero was made by Platinum Games.
Ugh,
Yeah.
that
So
hurts.
yeah, Platinum Games, the Bayonetta developers, the
You know what? I've gotten to the point with Platinum that I'm like, you do make good games, but sometimes you
but you
make
also,
real shit. Like,
I think for what was it for like what's that game on PlayStation that Platinum Games that everyone likes? Was it damn it.
shit.
What let's see here. Let's Google Platinum Games. All right. Plat Games. All right, here we go. Wikipedia. Let's find.
Wikipedia for the win.
All right, here we go. They made The Wonderful 101, Astral Chain, Near Automata. That's the one. Yeah.
That's, yeah,
For
that's a
every Near
great
Automata,
game.
they got Star Fox Zero to their name.
Oh, God. Oh, what a thing. For
For
every near automata, they have a Star Fox. Yep. Okay.
for every Bayonetta, they have an Astral Chain or something like that. I don't even know if that's a bad game or not. But yeah, they for every Wonderful 101, they have a Legend of Korra.
They did. You know what? The Legend of Korra game, it's not awful. It's not great, but for what it was, for a TV tie-in game, I'll take it.
For every Mad World, they have a Metal Gear Rising. I'm just kidding. No,
They,
that one has people are like apologists for that game, so I'll give him that one.
yeah,
But yeah,
they're something. I mean, shout out to Platinum for finding their weird ass lane and sticking in it lately. Because Bayonetta is like one of those weirdly Japanese games that you're like, I don't know who the fan demographic for this is, but I know it's me.
mhm. So yeah, it's definitely like as you can see, like SPD sort of muddied the waters because like everything was just being like dished out. So which is I don't know, I guess it sort of makes sense. I guess with the N64 generation, like Nintendo learned that they can't do it all by themselves.
It's
And
smart.
so they have to like basically like look to third parties to like, you know, trust them with their IP and so they can get new entries in the series. They have exclusives, you know, stuff like that. So they've developed they collaborating with like Capcom to make like Zelda games for the Game Boy. Uh, Obviously, working with Platinum
Mm,
to make Star Fox and stuff like that. And you know,
that's wild.
that's. I mean, there was never going to be another Star Fox entry, anyways, right? So this sort of works, I guess. Granted, the game kind of sucked, but you know,
Kind of.
um, uh,
With
at
love,
least Q
I
Games
say.
did. At least Q Games did a good job remaking Star Fox 64 on the 3DS. So yeah.
Fair, fair. It's wild to see them hand out their big boy titles to other people that aren't them. Because you know how some these devs hoard their titles
Wait.
and
So let me
won't hand them
wait.
out.
So let's just like clarify this. Did you not know that Star Fox Zero was made by Platinum?
I don't play Star Fox, so I never like paid attention to any of it aside from when you
Oh,
told me
okay.
about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm not a
Uh,
Super Nintendo person.
that's fair.
O-
That's
Only
fair.
when I was a wee last that Street Fighter, Super Mario, and maybe like one or two other games I played. I have a SNES now, but I never plug it in.
Hmm.
It just sits
Okay.
there.
All right. Let's see here. Let me. I want to know. Like, did Capcom was Capcom part of this? Because the thing is, like, Capcom made Zelda games.
Hmm.
But the ones I know for sure are the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages. Oh, there we go. The Minish Cap. Yeah, that was. So
I've
these were
heard
Game
about
Boy
that one.
Color games. Game Boy Color games, and then the Minish Cap was a Game Boy Advance game, and A Link to the Past. I could have sworn that was not Capcom, but whatever. Um, so yeah, they partnered with. These are like official entries in the franchise, by the way, and they're part of the Zelda timeline. And they partnered, and Nintendo didn't make those games. It's kind of crazy to think that, but Yeah, it's true.
Wow.
F-Zero. Okay.
Mhm.
The last time Nintendo made an F-Zero game was F-Zero X. Let's see here. What's that one? Which inch? F-Zero X. Um, F-Zero X was for the Nintendo 64.
Wow.
Uh,
It's been that long?
yeah, like Nintendo made,
Oh,
by the way.
okay.
Uh, Nintendo made F-Zero X for them, and it was made by EAD at the time. Now there were there were three more F-Zero games that came out after F-Zero X, but they were not made by Nintendo. So the big one that everyone loves, like the big most beloved F-Zero game that like everyone talks about that is still playable, like as far as like people would rather see a remake of this game because it's that good. It's that bitch,
Oh, okay.
is F-Zero GX. It was for the
That's the one I hear
GameCube.
about all the time.
Yeah, yeah. It's for the GameCube, and it was made by Sega.
Okay. Wow.
Their big rival. The big rival that and then Sega does with Nintendo, and at least in this case, right?
Yep.
Uh, yeah, and then Sega made that one, and then there were two more F-Zero games that were made for the Game Boy Advance, but they were not made by Sega. They were made by a studio named Suzak. They made F-Zero Grand Prix Legends or GP Legends and F-Zero Climax, which I think might have been a Japanese exclusive game. Those were made by Suzak. Never heard of them, but good for
Mhm.
them.
Yeah. Pop off.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. Let's see here. Suzak
Oh,
also
Sega.
Suzak also made Wario Master of Disguise. So I never heard of this. Let's find out. Wario Master Disguise.
Damn. Okay,
Okay.
Wario.
DS game. That's actually the DS is their actual regular Nintendo DS is actually a generation is one of my least I'm like one of the least knowledgeable stuff platforms that I know about Nintendo, but
Oh,
this was
shit.
made by Suzak, and they also there was a Wario World for the GameCube. Let's see here, Wario World.
Wario has so many games. Holy shit.
Yeah, I know. So, does this box art look familiar to you at all?
Yes. Why?
Hmm? Yeah, I've only seen this at like video game stores. I never actually played the game. I don't even know what gameplay looks like.
Me.
Um,
I know that box, but I don't know why.
Interesting. This is gameplay. Yeah, Wario
Okay.
World was actually made by let's see, Treasure. Never heard of that company.
No.
All right, let's see here. Kind of basic. It looks like a 3D adventure game, I guess. I don't even know.
Even
But yeah.
their early 3D dip into the 3Ds, they're not they're not beautiful. Most of the early 3D weren't, as we can see by when we looked at Tomb Raider. But damn, they
Hmm.
still look good today. Like I'd be perfectly fine with the way that looks.
Yeah. Well, this is also a GameCube. It's pretty
Looks like he's
pretty
two
in.
balls on his chin. His chin looks like a ball sack.
All right. And finally, I would say this is definitely one of like the best Wario games, I would say, as Wario Shake It for the Wii. It's actually one of like the last like major games, I would say, like that use sprites and sprite animations. Like of course they made a comeback lately, but like the art of sprite work,
Yeah.
sort of was dying at this time. This is I think it was a 2011 game. Everything was always like think about like games that are these days that use a 2.5D style. The reason why they use a 2.5D style is because they're using a 3D assets, even if
Hmm.
it's being displayed in 2D. It's easier to develop a game like that, and it actually takes more time and energy to actually make sprite work because you actually have to like draw at every frame.
Mm-hmm.
and so, and not very many sprite artists exist today.
No,
As it's a dying art.
it's
Um,
dying, and it's like you're saying, it's so hard. Look at a good game that is looks like it's sprite, but it's not. It's 3D. Is my God, Octopath. That's a great
mhm.
game, but that's that 2.5 3D. Is bring sprite work back. It's probably
Yeah, this
so
game is
expensive though.
this is a Wii game, but this game is beautiful, by the way. Like real talk. Like this game had like some very good like animations and like good designs and stuff like that. This is actually one of the games that people like talk about, like low key, like being like a hidden gem slash unappreciated kind of thing.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, this game was actually made by a company named Goodfeel. So yeah,
Okay. Interesting name. Sounds like it
yeah,
would
good
be
feel. I mean,
the
that's like a that's a good feeling. You just you want to make a game that feels good. Good feel.
you know. It's not where my head went because I was like, that sounds like something we'd find on Don's phone with all his adult entertainment. But sorry, Don. You know I'm just gonna roast you forever now.
But I would say the biggest like casualty in this 2003 restructuring was actually the Metroid series. So the Metroid series was being shepherded by Retro Studios, but it's only the Prime series because Prime 2, Prime 3 happened, all that stuff, Prime
Mhm.
trilogy, all that. But the actual series director, his name was Sakamoto. Uh, he was actually trying to get Metroid Dread made for over a decade. There's a YouTube
Jesus.
documentary about the original Metroid Dread, the canceled Metroid Dread that they were trying to make. Um, so Metroid Dread did come out on the Switch, but it's not the same that was started way back when.
Okay.
Um, so as a result of all those restructurings, like I think it was, I don't know if it was R&D 4 and R&D 1, I can't remember which one, but they were responsible for making Metroid games. But now, because of the restructuring, there isn't a team that's responsible for making a Metroid game. There's no internal development resources given to the director to make a game. So if the director wanted to make a new Metroid entry in the series, he needed to shop around for third-party teams to handle it, which
Dang.
kind of sucks, you know.
Yeah. 'Cause that's like
As a matter of fact, oh,
history. Metroid is Nintendo.
yeah.
Damn.
So yeah, think about like, well, Super Nintendo had like 1993, I want to say, had Super Metroid, and then it wasn't until 2002 that we got like Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you discount the Prime games, we didn't really get like another like proper Metroid until like who knows when. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Damn.
speaking of a proper Metroid, and this one's a really hard one because this is an actual official entry made by Nintendo or like published by Nintendo,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of fans and maybe even the Metroid creator themselves may want to decanonize it. Like,
Oof.
does it like, because yes, it fits in the canon, and yes, it could occur, but also the fans don't like the game. It rewrites Samus as a character. It just you can sort of get away with ignoring it, and everything still works. Do you know which game I'm talking about?
Would it be no Prime 2? No, I don't even know all the Metroid games, so I have no
Okay,
idea.
it was for the Wii. It was called Metroid Other M.
I hate that
Okay.
name.
Oh, you don't know? Okay. Okay, Metroid Other M was okay. It was part of this SPD program, by the way. So this is like the box art right here, by the way. Or like that's the box art.
I hate that.
And
I don't like the little other M. It looks like, oh shit, we forgot the rest of the title. Slip it on there. I don't like that. Don't like that at all.
so Other M was like this go-between Prime and a 2D Metroid. So there's some you can play the game with a single Wii remote,
Hmm.
and there's some like 2D sections, but it also goes into 3D, and you're still playing it with the Wii remote. So like
Oh, that's
they
weird.
wanted it to be simple, like, but the game controls were overly complicated by the Wii remote. I guess they wanted to like go back to like the NES kind of style of like let's just make game design easy and simple. But then you complicate it up by like trying to like
Of course.
have like all these extra buttons and then Wii shaking and all this other stuff and
Of course.
yeah.
Yep.
Um yeah, so okay, so the third party team that actually took on this mess was actually Koei Tecmo's Team Ninja. That
Oh,
was the collaborator. Um, and yeah, you know what? Let's see if I can actually pull up a video of like Metroid Other M and see what it looks like.
oh, good
You know,
God.
I'm pulling up a random video. Oh, this is IGN's video. Okay, IGN's review of Metroid Other M.
12
But
years ago, this video came out. Holy It isn't until I see like the date of a like a review or something, I'm like, damn, this shit really is that old.
yeah. So the thing about Metroid Other M is that like Samus has a lot of monologuing. Like she has a lot of like thought monologues.
Oh, she likes to talk
And
to herself. Oh no.
yeah,
Oh
and
no.
that's people didn't like that about her character development, like how they basically gave her an origin story, and some people say that it sort of like makes her character weaker. Like she was too like
Human?
I'm not gonna say vulnerability isn't a good thing in a character, but when she's like been billed as like a badass, like take no shit bounty hunter for like over a decade and stuff like that, and suddenly her being feeling like a damsel, it just sort of like goes against like that
Yeah,
um yeah that thing that we people that strong woman or whatever. It's like yeah.
that's true. You have to do it again, flashback to Tomb Raider. You have to do it in a very, very specific way. Otherwise, it is going to feel like you're pandering
You're
or
rewriting the
you're.
character, like who's this character, you don't recognize them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do need
Yeah.
a Oilers hat. I have my Oilers jersey though, yo.
So yeah, Other M was a very story-based game that had like a lot of like her like Chozo like DNA and stuff like that, and like a lot of like her how she was raised and stuff. It was just a bit of a convoluted mess, I would say.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Definitely a game that like I don't know if I want to try playing. I would like if I'm gonna play Metroid games, I'm just gonna play anything but this game.
Like the
um,
controls just look janky as all hell.
I think they switch between like sideways and vertical because like you have to like
No.
aim and point the controls. If I were to, oh, let's take a look at what score they gave
These
Metroid
was
Other M. I gotta see this.
it
Let's
just
see.
looks
Oh, it's
weird as all hell. Come on, lay your score down. Come on, IGN.
come on, IGN. 8.5. Interesting.
A
Interesting.
bit clunky. I could see the
A bit
clunk from
clunky.
here. Epic story though. They liked it. Okay.
Okay.
You know
Great
what?
throwback.
Fair.
Yeah.
Cause there's games that I'm sure we all love that probably scored awfully. Or games that people love that we don't. So fair. Fair.
It wasn't until 2015 that the series director was able to find a studio that he was happy to collaborate with, and that studio was none other than Mercury Steam. Um, Mercury Steam, they actually put out two Metroid games so far. They made Metroid: Samus Returns for the 3DS, which was a bit of like a test bed because it was a remake to the second game on the Game Boy.
Mm,
So it's sort of like dipping your toes, kind of seeing how design works and makes the producers and directors, are they happy with what they're doing? You put the game out, it's successful, people will like the game, and then next thing you know, you got the green light to make Metroid Dread, which they did. Mercury Stream
damn.
has did it, so yeah.
Okay. Took forever, but they finally got there.
Yeah.
Finally.
So let's see here. So with no R&D 3, there was no one available to make Punch Out games. Oh yeah, yeah, R&D 3 was actually R&D 3 was made by Punch Out, made by R&D 3. Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm
Forgot
trying to say.
about them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So because of that, um, the Punch Out was successful in the arcade, the NES, and the Super Nintendo. They were all successful entries. And despite that, No one was there to shepherd and to the franchise, and the franchise was sort of dormant and forgotten about, which kind of sucks.
And then they made
Um,
arms.
so, Next Level Games revived the series for one entry on the Wii. Did
I
you know
remember
that?
that one. Yes, I remember
Okay.
watching Game Grumps play it way back in the gaff.
You didn't. I didn't know this, but like the Punch Out on the Wii, um, I you has a compatibility with the Wii Balance Board.
Why?
So you know how like your character like can go left and right and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So if you're standing on the balance board, instead of like moving your character left and right with like the stick or whatever or the nunchuck, you can just actually shift your body weight to the left or to the
That's
right,
kind
and
of
it
cool.
moves your character.
That's kind of cool. I just remember, was it the Wii Balance board that called me fat when I was 10 and I never got over it?
Yeah,
Like destroying childhoods for years. I
yeah.
remember this game. It looked like a lot of fun. Punch
Yeah,
I
I
should
did
come
play with
back.
the Wii Balance Board for once, and I did the Wii Remote Nunchuck so you can punch and like, and it was very physical. So yeah,
Now that arms is a thing, you think Punch Out is ever going to come back?
I don't know. Like, here's the thing, like they put the Smash Brothers is such a tastemaker with games. Like, I feel like with like Little Mac being a playable fighter, like that would be a good time to like strike while the iron is hot to make because his character is like sort of relevant. Like, it's like you know how like when somebody say, "Oh, that guy from Fortnite" or whatever, but he's like,
Yeah.
"Shut the fuck up," you know. It's
Yeah.
kind of like that, but for Smash Brothers. Like, "Oh, that guy from Smash Brothers." So it's like it just sort of works that way. Like
Well,
Fire Emblem, for those that don't know, Fire Emblem was a series that was Japan exclusive. Marth and Roy's first exposure to the North American audience was through Melee. As a matter of fact, Roy was actually invented in Melee. Like Roy had a his game in development for the Game Boy Advance didn't exist. It was still like in the concept and development phase. Sakurai, the creator and director, had access to that team and saw what they were working on, and was able to create Roy as a
damn.
playable fighter in Melee. And so Japan also, like the Japanese audience, got to preview Roy in Melee before playing him in his Game Boy Advance game that came out after the fact.
Yeah, damn. Okay.
And because of that, because Marth was such a popular character, suddenly people were ready to buy and try out a Fire Emblem game here in the West, and that's what happened.
That's
So,
interesting because you do see that with the Fortnite stuff, but it's usually because when they brought Kratos into Fortnite, we already knew the
mhm.
God of War Ragnarok was coming out. Tomb Raider was I think it was Shadow of Tomb Raider came out in 2018, so the Tomb Raider is probably always going to be relevant because it was in the news cycle again. Why put a character in your game but not? You're right. That is a great time to be like, here is a new game. Enjoy
Yeah,
this classic series. Because
yeah,
even
it's
when
been
they put
proven.
Cloud in, is when we already knew that the Final Fantasy VII remake was coming out.
Hmm.
Damn,
Yeah, Smash Brothers has been proven to be a tastemaker for a lot of things. Not just the Fire Emblem series, but just other games in general. It's good cross promotion.
hmm
So like in the game, like Fire Emblem Fates was coming out, they put in Smash Wii U as a DLC character. Like Min from Arms, was a DLC character that helps promote Arms, as in the Switch, and it just sort of works. There's a lot of missed opportunities with like characters like Banjo, uh, not being in having a new game to speak of. So yeah.
Nintendo, you confuse me.
Let's see here. In 2015, Nintendo again consolidated all their internal resources into a single entity.
Okay,
It's called Nintendo EPD, which I think we had it right here. EPD stands for Nintendo Entertainment Planning and Development.
still hate their naming
So
convention. Love it.
uh, okay, so EPD, it's basically EAD and SPD merged into one.
Smushed. Okay.
So it's
Okay,
a
Nintendo.
SPD, EAD, SPD, EPD.
I hate it, but okay.
Okay.
I hate it, but okay.
Why do they got to do that? Is what I want to know. One is like let's make our own games. One is let's pour out our games.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it into one entity? Is what I want to know. But they do. They are. So
Ugh.
in Nintendo EPD, they do both. They do their own games and they outsource. One of their biggest collaborators is actually Bandai Namco. They actually work partners and co-collaborators on Mario Kart and Smash Brothers for the Wii U and the Switch and the 3DS.
Oh,
Um, yeah, as a matter of fact, like the Smash Brothers was actually like developed by two companies, like HAL Laboratories and Bandai Namco. It's like a really weird like working partnership relationship thing that I got going on there.
damn.
Um,
Okay.
so okay, so here we go. EPD has 11 production groups, and this is current, by the way. This is the new stuff. This is the now.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
11.
Okay. Lay it on me.
Okay, EPD 1 and 2, they do external development, so
I hate it.
outsourcing. And EPD 3 is the Zelda team. They only
Okay.
make Zelda games. So as soon as like Breath of the Wild launches, they're hard at work at the next one.
Okay.
EPD 4 makes casual softwares like Brain Age, Labo, and 1-2 Switch.
Oh, okay.
Okay, EPD 5. By the way, what the fuck? EPD 1 through 11? Like, god damn it.
I know. I can't just call
Okay.
them. You're the Zelda team. Just give them the name that they do. Why do you got to break it down? Because now you just gotta. It's a title and then a little subtext on the bottom. It's like,
Yeah.
no. Okay,
All right.
Nintendo.
EPD 5 makes Splatoon and Animal Crossing games. All right. So
Those are
think about
two
it.
vastly different games, but okay.
Think about it. Think about it. All right. Do you remember how like Animal Crossing on the Switch came out in 2020 and it or yeah, 2020 and it took the world
Hmm.
by storm
Hmm.
and people get like people were asking why isn't this a game as a service? People were asking why isn't this game being supported with more content drops? They did support it for a little while and then the content drops just stopped.
Yeah.
Why did it stop? Because they went to work at Splatoon 3.
Ugh. Is that smart or short sighted? But actually, it's probably smart because that game is still carries itself because people are back
Hmm.
playing it now. So
Hmm.
and Nookazon and like people are crazy about that game, y'all.
Plus, not to mention, it's got like this calendar thing. So, like every year
Hmm.
on a certain day, it does these events in game without you having to like push out an update. You know,
That is
like
smart.
people could still play the Animal Crossing on the GameCube to this day, and it
Yep.
still has a Christmas event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's like
wild.
you could still do those saves. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS was like a huge game, and people were playing that for years.
Yeah.
So I don't think you needed to make it a games as a service. I don't think you really need content drops or whatever. But like, I think those are cool. But really, you know, it's already your older games already have a good template for like good stuff. Which there's also something to be said about that because one of the things that people don't are like that are like Nintendo may not like about when you play Animal Crossing on the old games is if you time travel. So like if you set your system's like time and date to a
Hmm.
date that's not in real life, then you can have events that you can sort of speed run the game, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think as a game as a service, you can't fool like reality, I guess. I don't know.
You know you can't. And we know Nintendo. We complain about their game prices now. Could you imagine
Hmm.
the live service Animal Crossing full price? Nah, y'all would be upset.
All right, let's see here. Let me just put up. I'm gonna put up Animal Crossing New Horizons just because I want something on screen.
Yeah.
Um,
Ba, ba.
there we go. I'm just putting up whatever the first thing that comes up, and I'm just going to the random ass part. Just something is on screen.
Yeah.
I don't even Zach Scott Games. You won the lottery because you're at the
Thank
top.
you.
Just by the way, I'm not even trying to like pick anyone in particular. All right. So EPD 6 is external development. EPD7 does internal and external, but they
Okay.
mostly like any internal stuff is small stuff like Rhythm Heaven. EPD8 is the Mario team. They made Mario Odyssey,
Oof.
and
Okay.
we can see what I hope they're working on something. It's been like 4.5 years since Mario Odyssey, or no, wait, 4 years since Mario Odyssey came out.
Yeah.
Four and
About
a half
time.
since the Switch came out. EPD9 makes Mario Kart, Nintendogs, and ARMS.
Nintendogs is still a thing?
When was the last Nintendogs game? I need to know.
Like
Let's see here.
2007?
All right, let's see here. Nintendogs. Well, there was a 3DS games. Uh,
Yeah. Oh shit.
it was called Nintendogs and Cats.
And cats.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Okay, let's see here. Let me. I guess we'll go to Wikipedia and see. There we are. Sequels. Oh shit, that's it. It was just Nintendogs and Cats for the. Oh my god, there's only two games: DS and 3DS.
Why is it such a beloved thing? Why do people keep talking about it? There's two games. There's more Barbie games. There's more Bratz games. God, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure they still make Barbie games too.
there hasn't been a Nintendog since Nintendogs plus Cats in 2011. Okay,
Okay.
interesting. Good to know. Good to know. I did
I'm
not know that.
off.
All right. So EPD9, Mario Kart, Nintendogs and ARMS. EPD10 makes 2D Mario games such as Mario Maker and Pikmin.
Oh shit,
And
okay.
EPD11, I guess so. EPD10, I guess, is working on the new Pikmin game that was just announced. Then
Ye-
EPD11 makes mobile games and also do external work too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm
Okay.
guessing that that Mario iPhone game was probably made by them.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like the core like Nintendo team. There are other first party studios um, that are owned by Nintendo, but that are not under the EPD umbrella, and I'll get to them here in a moment. But if you're only talking about just the EPD umbrella, internally, Nintendo only makes 2D Mario games, 3D Mario games, Mario Kart, Zelda, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Pikmin, Rhythm Heaven, and small experimental shit like Labo. So,
That's not a lot. That's less than you think. But also gaming history and some of the best selling games of all time. So,
there are other first party studios owned by Nintendo.
mm,
Um, Indie Cube makes the Mario Party games, and they also gave us Clubhouse Games, which is for a World 51 Worldwide Classics for the Switch, or whatever. So that's Indie Cube. Retro Studios gives us the Prime series as well as the Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze games.
okay.
Next Level Games is actually was recently purchased by Nintendo. By the way, they were technically a second party studio for like the longest, only like a year or two ago. Or then like, do you remember like when like Microsoft was buying all these studios and stuff like that, and PlayStation was like, oh, we bought the studio.
Yeah.
Around that time, Nintendo was like, we bought a studio too.
And
Next Level
nobody cared.
Games.
And nobody was looking for them. Like, okay, Nintendo, go back to your corner and do what you do best. Just make some weird shit.
Yeah, so that's actually a true story, by the way. We covered this on Ready Press Play, by the way.
Dang.
Next Level Games was acquired by Nintendo recently, and they're part of the thing, but they were already making like Nintendo only games. They were basically a collaborator, like a so, anyways, Next Level Games, they make the Mario Strikers for the Switch. They
Mm,
made Punch Out for the Wii. They made the Luigi's Mansion games for the 3DS and the Switch.
banging. Okay.
So that's Next Level Games. Monolith Soft makes Xenoblade games. So like Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, 3, Xenoblade Chronicles X. They're also an asset house for Nintendo. So since they have such good technical prowess, I guess they sort of help out in development and other projects. Um,
Oh,
they
oh, that makes
they're
sense.
like the asset. They're the asset house. Um, Nerd, NERD, stands for Nintendo European Research and Development.
Okay.
Nerd, bunch of nerds.
Bunch of nerds
Those
working over a nerd.
there are a bunch of nerds handle emulation work. which kind of makes sense because it takes a nerd to emulate.
And Nintendo has so many good titles that they're sitting on that they could bring back.
I'm pretty sure Nerd helped with like the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic and whatever the Switch NSO like NES games and Super Nintendo games, like whatever emulation work is happening, it's happening in house through Nerd. And then there's NST, which stands for Nintendo Software and Technology. you, I love your like expressions. By the way, you're like it's
I
like
just
you
hate
love
it.
and hate these games.
Like, I love the games. It sounds, if you didn't know what Nintendo was, which there is people in the world that don't know what Nintendo, you would think it's like this big, like, aerospace technology company that is with all these research and development stuff. You would be so confused. It's like, why can't you just, what is the one fun one I heard was Nerd, and they handle emulation. One fun one. No one else was fun. God, y'all. I'm picky. What can I say?
Yes, the emulation. Which, by the way, like there's a whole side story on that. By the way, um, yeah, look at this. Look at that. All right, I want you to know that the one on the right is the Wii U. Okay. Um,
Ooh.
this is the NES Classic. It's way more cleaner. This is how it's supposed to look like. This is unacceptable. The Wii U had the shittiest emulation to ever emulate. Okay, bar none. Always looking darker, by the way. And I don't. There's a whole story, by the way, and I don't necessarily know all the details off the top of my head. But here's what I can tell you: somebody made an emulator and they put it on Animal Crossing on the GameCube. Okay, and it worked really well. Everyone, you can play those NES games by unlocking them in game, and you can play like even Mario Brothers on the GameCube through Animal Crossing.
Damn.
The Wii Virtual Console used that same technology. Okay, and it was not made by Nintendo. I don't know who they bought it from. Can't remember. But then they were like, Nintendo was like, fuck you. We don't want to pay you. This is too much. We don't want to use your technology. So you know what? We're going to kick you to the curb and we're going to make our own technology and make a Wii U virtual console. And this is what happened.
All they had to do was use the Dolphin emulator, because that's a good one.
No, it's like Nintendo doesn't want to use other people's work. Obviously, you need to be proprietary if you want to own everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like you know, I don't think you want to be caught copying someone else's homework. There's going to be litigation if you were to reverse engineer that source code and be like, "Hey, you stole my work." So that kind of sort of makes sense because they didn't want to like use that because you'd have to pay that guy whoever did that in the first
Yeah.
place.
But if it's
Um,
better than what you can shit out,
That's exactly right. That's why I'm pissed. That's why I'm pissed. I don't own any Wii U Virtual Console games, by the way.
no, I wouldn't either.
Unless I think I do, but they were all given to me for free by the Nintendo Rewards Plug program. It was called Club Nintendo. I was a Club Nintendo member, and they gave out digital games, and those are the only ones I own.
Okay, that makes sense. What's up, Solar Flare? Greetings from Australia.
Uh, so it's a little hard to hear Chacalaca. Oh, is it? Do I need to raise up my audio?
No, I turned
Or
you up. You're good.
oh, okay, okay, all right. But yeah, it's. I guess you didn't know that. Did you know that side story?
No. I know people said
Yeah, I.
don't get any of the retro games on Wii U, and I was like, I wasn't gonna play them there anyway, but okay.
So yeah. Anyways, moving on. So nerd,
Mhm.
emulation, NST, Nintendo Software and Technology. They sort of fallen off. They actually used to make stuff like Wave Race Blue Storm and the Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS.
Wave Race was
Those were like
fire.
their big projects, but they actually just do assisting other teams. Their only real like major franchise that's theirs that they make are like the small little itty bitty bite sized franchise that's really easy to make in like a day, called the Mario versus Donkey Kong series. I don't know if you know about that one.
No.
Okay, let's pull it up. I can show you. Um, there's a lot of entries. I think they started off on the Game Boy Advance. There's some on the DS and the 3DS. Uh, it's let's see here, Mario versus Donkey Kong series. Okay, this is a 20-minute video. That's good. I can just sort of like skip to like gameplay. I'm just Ant Man. I've heard of this guy before. He's a good YouTuber. Um, they just it's like this little like Mario versus Donkey Kong, like chibi, like little like puzzle kind of platformy kind of thing. It's like
Oh shit. Okay.
it's not really like a major franchise. They have like gimmicks on that. They had like several on the 3DS, and they had like this in the Amiibo integration. This kind of like gimmicks to help sell games or whatever. It's really
Licensed
nothing.
shovelware.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Damn.
Those are Game Boy Advance cards, by the way. So you can unlock levels. Um, but yeah, it's
Mm,
really not like um anything to write home about. I'm actually not even surprised you never heard of the series, by the way. The only reason
no.
why I know this series existed or exists is because I watch every Nintendo Direct, and they're trying to promote it at some point when there's a new release.
Of course. Jeez. I mean, they look like great toilet games. You know, you knock a level out when you're just taking a wee squat. So, but that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So that's NST right there. And let's see here. So yeah, so basically we have EPDs 1 through 11. We have Retro Studios. We have Next Level Games, NPD, Nerd, NST. So that's what 16 developers I think in house. And
That's
then you
pretty good.
have other teams that are not owned by Nintendo but are like second party collaborators. So HAL Laboratories is actually one of the main ones that I was going to talk about. So HAL Laboratories is actually owned by Sakurai. Masahiro Sakurai started off at Nintendo, but then he like made his own company, and in doing so, I think some of the early like HAL Laboratory games like that were like are games that you never heard about, but they came out in other systems a long ass time ago. But HAL Laboratories is like known for all the Kirby games. Masahiro Sakurai was the creator of Kirby. He's the father of Kirby, even from the original NES game, and that's why he's his baby.
Hmm.
Um, and HAL Laboratories, they've made every Kirby games, including Kirby and the Forgotten Land or whatever, the one that's on the Switch. Um,
Mouthful mode.
Kirby, a mouthful mode. Yeah, yeah, yeah. How Laboratories made like the Smash 3DS, Smash Wii U, Smash Ultimate, because Sakurai is also the creator of Smash Brothers. So Nintendo wouldn't have it any other way other than the creator of Smash 64 to continue to making every Smash game to ever like just period.
That makes sense.
Um,
I appreciate
yeah.
that.
So it's very nice that they did that, and also because because Nintendo's so nice and have a good working relationship with Sakurai, HAL Laboratories also made Kid Icarus Uprising. So again, going back to R&D 1, like Kid Icarus was a game on the NES and on the Game Boy. They were two entries, but then that franchise was dormant. No one made it,
Mm.
and Nintendo's sitting on franchises like Ice Climbers and stuff like that, right? No
Yep.
one's making them. uh, Sakurai himself, he liked Kid Icarus, like he liked the games, and he asked Nintendo, "Hey, let me make a new entry in the series," and they allowed him to do it, and he
Damn.
made it as a passion project. So after he was done with like Smash Brawl for the Wii, he got to work on making that for the 3DS, which was one of the big games for the 3DS at the time.
Damn. Okay.
Hmm.
Actually, I like that. Instead of hoarding it and not letting it be made, somebody clearly has a passion for it. You have a good working relationship. Let him make it. Konami should have definitely let Kojima keep making Metal Gear and never release Metal Gear Survive.
That would be
That
really
game was
interesting. Like if
awful.
like what is it? What's Kojima's studio called? I forgot. What's the name of that
Kojima
studio?
Productions.
Kojima Productions. Yeah, imagine if like Kojima Productions got the license for Metal Gear and they just did it.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
It would be weird as shit because Death Stranding was weird as shit. Metal Gear weird as shit. So let the man have his series back and let him make it. But I think that bridge is so burned.
So yeah, Sakurai, he's got his own YouTube channel now. You know, How Laboratories is really awesome and all that good stuff. What's really interesting about Kirby, by the way, I did not know this, but I knew that Sakurai had a vested interest in Kirby. By the way, there's like that's not like something I didn't already know. What I didn't know is that there's like a Pokemon thing going on with Kirby. Nintendo doesn't own Kirby, not entirely, anyways. So
What
Kirby is owned by Warp Star Incorporated. That's the name of the company.
car?
Warp Star Incorporated is owned by two companies.
Oh, good God, no.
50% is owned by Nintendo and 50% is owned by HAL Laboratories.
Okay, pop off. Damn, that's confusing.
Yeah, like I don't even know how does like there's no majority owner of Kirby. Like 50% is owned by Nintendo and 50% is owned by the creator Sakurai. So it's like yeah, it's really interesting like how do you how do you like solve disagreements between different wants? Like are there any disagreements? I don't even know, but like yeah. So
That's
I don't know.
damn. I don't know what to do with that information because I thought Kirby was like Nintendo all the way.
Yeah.
Damn.
So you learned something. I learned this by the way in researching for this show by the way.
Yeah.
Um also so okay, so HAL Laboratories is not owned by Nintendo. Intelligent Systems is also not owned by Nintendo. They actually make the Paper Mario games, the WarioWare games, and the Fire Emblem games, like all of them.
That's
So
a surprise. Holy shit.
yeah. So like Fire Emblem Awakening for the 3DS, Fire Emblem Three Houses for the Switch, like yeah, that's made by Intelligent Systems, but they're not a Nintendo company.
Like my North American brain is not computing that you have such iconic franchises for your system that's been known to be on your platform and you don't own them because I could never imagine a like a certain I can't even think of a game off the top of my head because my brain is confuzzled. I can't think of a game not being on a certain system when that's where you're Halo. Never think Microsoft not owning Halo, but
Yeah.
it being played on Halo or being played on Microsoft systems. Like that's wild to me.
They also made the Advanced War series, by the way. Um,
Really.
yeah. So intelligence systems. Let's see here. I guess they had their hands in Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, Wrecking Crew,
Classic.
Gyromite. I guess they helped out on Metroid and let's see here, Fire Emblem, which is like the Marth's game right here. Sim
Hmm.
City, Mario Paint. Let's see here. Wow, Super Metroid. They really helped out a lot on a lot of stuff. Paper
Damn.
Mario for the Nintendo 64, Advance Wars for the Game Boy Advance, Mario Kart Super Circuit for the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, I see a lot of stuff. Super Paper Mario for the Wii, Pushmo for the 3DS. I did not know that, by the way. Crashmo for the 3DS. Yeah. So
Damn.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Nintendo owns the IP rights for Fire Emblem. If I'm not, I could be wrong about that. I didn't actually look into that myself. So let's find out if they do. I wonder if Wikipedia knows. Let's see here. Blah blah blah. Developed by Intelligent Systems and published by Nintendo. Okay. Mm,
Hmm.
I'm not seeing it here on this little summary just yet, but I would hope that Nintendo owns Fire Emblem. But yeah.
Interesting. That's
Mm,
wild.
oh, no. Oh my God.
I don't
What if there's like. Let's see here. Here we go. Ah, Intelligent Systems is the co-owner of Fire Emblem alongside Nintendo.
a lot of 50-50s here.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
By the way, that's the same thing with Earthbound, by the way. Did you know that?
No.
Earthbound is not owned by Nintendo.
Because Earthbound is like pivotal Nintendo history.
Let's see here. Oh, it's developed by HAL as well. Oh my god. Let's see here. Blah blah blah. It's developed by Ape Incorporated and HAL. Published by Nintendo. Okay, all right. Second entry in the Mother series. Let's see here. All right, that's it. Who owns? I'm gonna just do it like that. Who owns Earthbound? All right, let's see here. What? No, that can't be right. Mm, okay, I can't figure it out. Uh, no, it's too much research to go, but whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm pretty sure Earthbound is owned by a company like that owns the rights to it and stuff like that. There's a lot of different things that was going on with Earthbound, and that's the reason why like getting it re-released is because there's like a lot of parody music for the '90s, and they have to license
uh,
that, and that was like
yeah.
another thing. But I think the creator of the game has like some sort of like legal ownership of the game in some form or fashion. Um, Shigesato Itoi. That sounds like that's a guy's name. But anyways, that's you learn something every day, I guess.
No kidding. Damn, Nintendo.
Okay. And then lastly, Camelot is not owned by Nintendo either. They actually started off as making games for like the Sega and the PlayStation in their early days, by the way.
That's funny.
But lately they have been only strictly making Nintendo games. Starting around the Nintendo 64 days, they made Mario Tennis and Mario Golf and the Game Boy Advance game Golden Sun. Um,
Golden Sun was a
so
good one.
when you see like a Mario Tennis game for the Switch or for the 3DS or Mario Golf game for the 3DS, it was made by Camelot.
That's wild.
Okay.
The fact that Nintendo parts their icons out like that is mind blowing.
All right, let's see here. Here we go. This is like all their games right here. So Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Golden Sun, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Sports. Oh, Shining Force for the Sega Saturn. That was them right there. Let's see here. There's a lot of here we go. Oh, Beyond the Beyond for the PlayStation. That was it. Here we go. Shining Force 2 for what was this? Mega Drive. Okay, the Genesis.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's Camelot for you. And so Mario Tennis Ultra Smash for the Wii U is the worst Mario Tennis. It's the shittiest one. I don't know if you knew this, but do
Tell me how
yourself
you
a
really
favor and
feel.
never play it for the Wii U.
Okay. I'll just stay
At
away from the
least
Wii U in general. Seems like.
At least, okay, I'm gonna say Mario Tennis for the 3DS is actually dope and really decent, and Mario Tennis Aces for the Switch also decent and very good. So they they
Okay.
they redeem themselves. I'm willing to bet that Mario Tennis for the Wii U was probably a rush development. That's probably like the best excuse I can think of. Um, Probably that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's more than fair to think about. Because there's no way a company that makes that many Mario games shits the bed like that.
All right, and finally, the last thing that I was able to write down on my doc before running out of time, which, by the way, I'm glad I was able to go an hour and a half, by the way. I didn't even think that was going to happen. But the last thing, and by the way, like I was mid research, so there was actually more. Like we probably could make a second one. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how much more I had to research. Maybe this could be the end. Maybe I was just about to finish like going down that rabbit hole, and then I just like stopped writing just as I was about to go through the exit door. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the last thing that I wrote down on my little notepad is the Pokemon Company. And I think I told
Yeah.
Hugger this on a previous episode and I blew her mind. But the Pokemon Company is actually three companies merged into one, kind of, sort of speaking. Um, there's Creatures, which is the original creator of Pokemon, like the guy that thought of Pokemon as a concept. Creatures it owns 34%, which is like the biggest share. 34% of the Pokemon Company. There's Game Freak, which is the developer. They own 33% of the Pokemon Company, and Nintendo owns the other 33%. Those three companies make one company, and that's every decision that happens, like what happens with Pokemon, anime, card game, merchandising, licensing, being on the iPhone or Android, like all of those things happen through the Pokemon Company. So when it comes to Pikachu being in Smash Brothers, you gotta Nintendo has to license their own character through the Pokemon Company.
That's that's wild. But just like I
Yeah.
still can't get over the cooperation between the companies because I mean, look at what we've been talking about for months with PlayStation and Call of Duty. My North American brain really can't wrap my head around. Yeah, we share ownership of our greatest IPs ever, and we're willing to work together. Couldn't be North America. Couldn't be North American
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, there's a lot of trust and a lot of honor among thieves, I guess, in Japan, I guess. I don't know.
Really
Um,
has to be. God damn.
so Hugger,
Hmm.
I educated you on the convoluted like business structure that is Nintendo's first party. And
No shit.
audience, feel free to chime in too, by the way. I would like to hear your thoughts. But now that I told you about the cogs in the machine that is Nintendo's first party.
There he did it. He did it. All right. Good show, everybody.
I'm sorry. I have
Uh-huh.
But now that I showed you how how the sausage is made, like what are your thoughts? What are your takeaways? Like do you like is your mind blown? Do you have an appreciation? Like or what do you think?
I have an appreciation for Nintendo's business sense. Like I just said, the fact that some of their greatest, most iconic franchises aren't specifically owned by them or they work in collaboration with a lot of them and they've just kept some of these going for decades at this point. It gives me a bit more respect for when we say we leave Nintendo to do what Nintendo wants. It's like, yeah, because Nintendo's gonna figure it out. You don't need to be buying up studios. You can work in collaboration with them. And if you do bring them in, let them do their thing. Let them figure it out. Just let them be instead of micromanaging. And then you get problems like the Wii U and the games that came out for the Wii U. But damn, I have so much more respect for Nintendo to just be Nintendo.
I completely forgot about like the Hyrule Warriors series, by the way. That's like
I
actually a
forgot.
third party
Yeah.
collaboration. Actually, I think about it because the people that make Dynasty Warriors, I forgot the name of that studio, but they're the ones that made those games. So, and also Fire Emblem Warriors is also that same basically the
Yeah.
same game with a different skin on it. But basically, it's like yeah, they have been leaning on those collaborations, which makes sense because Nintendo doesn't have infinite resources to be making these games. They don't have like 50 teams. As much, you know what? A part of me almost kind of wishes that Nintendo had like EPD 1 through 50 because then every
Oh,
franchise
good
can get
God.
touched.
Oh, God, no.
I mean, but that's like that's highly unrealistic, by the way. Like I get it.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have infinite people to make all the franchises that they have and every IP getting equal representation and equal
Mm-hmm.
love and care and equal like expansion of ideas and mechanics and stuff like that Nintendo really likes to do. Like that's one of the things that Nintendo's design philosophy. They really don't like to just to make an entry into a series for the sake of making that entry. They
Yep.
want to like reinvent the wheel every time.
Well, look at Rockstar. They have two of the most highest rated games and series of all time, Red Dead Redemption and GTA. Red Dead Redemption 2 was probably going to be one of the best games to go down for the generation, probably in the last 20 years since Red Dead 1 came out.
Hmm.
But they shit the bed with the online and it's killed that game. But they love the GTA Online. It's all what 2013, all these years later, is still printing money. If they had just, maybe allocated some different resources, they could have two powerhouse games. Nintendo
Hmm.
realizes, like you said, they don't have infinite people. You don't want the crunch that comes along with pushing those people. So they pick and choose what they can do. And they are smart enough to realize, hey, we are Nintendo. We don't have to do it all anymore. We did it and we're past that. now we can sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor. We've made great business connections. We have lasting franchises. We could stop making a certain franchise today and people would still talk about our games 20, 30 years from now, as we do with most of their games. Nintendo's just, there's a reason why they save the gaming industry, and there's a reason why we love them and kind of just let them, as much as we go, Nintendo, god damn it, Nintendo. There's a reason why we just go, yeah, you're okay. Just keep doing what you're doing.
You know what? Now I'm trying to think. All right, I don't need to know. I'm trying to remember the name of that studio, by the way. I can't remember it. All right, who made? It was Grizzo. 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 Is it Grezzo? Huh. You know what? Let's go with Link's Awakening. There we go. It was. Hmm,
Made in
where's
the
that
Unreal
Wikipedia?
4 engine. Damn, okay.
There we go. Oh man, come on. There we go. That's the one. Okay. Grezzo. Grezzo. There we go. Grezzo is also not owned by Nintendo, but they've got their license for like Ocarina of Time 3D for the 3DS, which is like their first main one, like their claim to fame. They got the Four Swords Anniversary for the 3DS. We have they made Luigi's Mansion for the 3D. Oh my gosh, 3DS. And then they made Link's Awakening for the Switch and Miitopia for the Switch as well.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure. Oh, Ever Oasis for the 3DS. Okay, I'm pretty sure that Grezzo is the 2D Legend of Zelda team. Like they made the last. They made the handheld ones. They made Ocarina of Time. They made
Mhm.
Majora's Mask. They made it for the Switch for the Link's Awakening. I'm pretty sure that whatever the next 2D Zelda is going to happen, it's made by Grezzo. So
That's wild. That really
I forgot
is.
about them. See, this is why I talk about when I didn't have enough time to finish my script. I just remembered them. I just like literally just remembered off the top of my head.
That's
Sorry, I had to squeeze that in there.
no,
Um,
that's all good. Damn.
yeah. So, yeah, just to sort of wrap it up, yeah, it's just I am genuinely like amazed by how this is like it seemingly like feels like a well-oiled machine, but there's just so many moving parts. Like
Hmm.
if I were to try to draw out this graph, it would just look like a spider web that's just like gonna get tangled or something like that. The fact that things work is just surprising. Maybe those consolidations weren't necessary. I don't even know.
Yeah, because I mean, you leave the company to run on its own. They're responsible for themselves. All they have to do is deliver you a product. You don't have to worry about managing the companies because we've seen. I mean, Bioware. EA started micromanaging them, and it almost put them under. With Inquisition, kind of saved them. Andromeda was ass. The Legendary Edition is good now. Dreadwolf has its release date, and or not release date, has a release window ish. The next Mass Effect already is in production as well. So I was like, I'm with Nintendo. Just have them worry about their management, give them money, let them make my game. We reap all the profits and work together for the foreseeable future.
Do you think that this structure works only for Nintendo? Like, could you imagine like Microsoft or PlayStation trying to do a first party management of this kind of caliber or no?
It could, but I think we're too much in the mindset here in North America where it's like, if they're making my stuff, I have to own them so they can't share it with anybody else.
Hmm.
We don't want
Yeah,
to
that's
share.
true. That is
Which,
true. Yeah, like I don't ever see like a situation where like like PlayStation didn't own God of War or something like that, or they had 50% like ownership to Santa Monica or something like that, or whatever.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that would be really weird.
And it's
Yeah.
also to a weird detriment because then like I bet you Santa Monica probably wants to make some other show other than God of War, but they're locked into that specific franchise.
Hmm.
But
Insomniac was kind of like complaining about that because they were like only making what was it Infamous? Was it
oh
Insomniac or no?
yeah,
Yeah,
wait, was
like
it Infamous or Sucker Punch?
Sucker Punch. Yeah, Sucker Punch.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sucker Punch didn't want to be the Infamous team or whatever, and they wanted to explore and do something else, and that's why they made like Ghost of Tsushima.
God, that's
So
such a good game. But yeah,
so
I don't know. we're in a greedy mindset here in North America. I don't know if the Nintendo way could ever work. I don't. I
Yeah, so
really
it's like
don't.
you can have Infamous 4 or whatever the next entry, or you can have Ghost of Tsushima, which I guess granted I loved Ghost, by the way. It was a really good game.
Mhm.
I just it just sucks that we don't live in a world where we can't have both. that's yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Um,
You either get
if we think about
Fallout or you get Elder Scrolls. You don't get both.
not both, yeah. Yeah, why doesn't like anyone ever whore out like Elder Scrolls 6, you know, like yeah, why don't they just do that? Like way you can have two games. But I don't know, it just
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
If anything, whoever you pimp out Elder Scrolls 6 to, they'll do a better game. They will do like a game where like the developers, whoever they get, they are like fans of the series. They'll put a lot of tender love and care. There won't be any features, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. Yeah. I bet
Exactly.
you that. I bet you that would be the case. But we don't deserve that. We don't deserve to live in that world, I
No,
guess.
we don't. We've messed up by making fun of them for the last 20 some years with the creation engine. They're like, nah, you guys get it when you get it. Screw you. Y'all suck.
Yeah. But Don does say the Nintendo is the goat, and
Nintendo is goat.
yeah. Um, otherwise, yeah, I don't really have much more to say. I'm only gonna just do one last thing here. I'm gonna pimp out an article that I wrote, and for some odd reason, my article is not showing up on the home page. But when I click on the news page, it's there, or at least it was there. Interesting. I don't see it. Where's my news story? I published an article this morning. It's interesting. It's not
I don't
there.
know.
You know
We'll
what?
have
Let
to
me go to
check
my
that out.
Twitter. I'm gonna go to my Twitter and we'll find it here. Let's see here. Notifications and oh, I forgot to tweet out today's show. Fuck.
That's
Damn
okay.
it. You know what? Let's just retweet it real quick just because we're only gonna be on for like another 5 minutes. But let's see. Okay, for some odd reason, it's live and you can see it through my Twitter. Like this is the article, by the way. That
We're gonna
explains
have to
that
check that
explains
out.
why it's only got 5 views, by the way. That does explain that. Maybe I probably messed up with the publishing settings on my end, but
I
it
don't
went
think
live
so.
this morning, and this is a story. Oh,
God damn.
oh sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. This is a story that happened this past weekend, and I just want to promote it right now because it was a really good story. I put a lot of time and energy and research into writing this expose. I like writing exposés. By the way, that's like my lane. And this one just sort of like, oh yeah, Smash Brothers esports controversy. I'm there.
Hell yeah.
Um, so I wrote this expose, and I'm sure I'll fix the settings on the back end so it's featured on the
It is
homepage.
on live on the site. I don't know why it's not showing up for you, but and it's
Okay.
got more than 5 views. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
figure that out later.
Okay, okay, good to know. Okay, for I was just going off of what I was seeing here. But basically, this story is about a pro player who's been a member of the community for over 5 years. He's top 10 in the world. Um, he's Mexican. He doesn't own like a driver's license in the United States. He has a Mexican driver's license. He has a Mexican passport. And apparently, the bouncer at the casino that the tournament was being held in was potentially racist, basically saying that he's an outsider and basically didn't hear him out and just turned him away at the door, even though there were other international players at that tournament from Japan and Canada that were also competing and didn't have any issues getting into the venue. So please check out that story. It's got his official twit longer recounting linked in there. It's got an interview by one of the commentators, EE, with his recollection. It's got Hungry Box's you know, when he used the word racism. You know, it's got a
Mm-hmm.
lot of commentary. It's got a lot of good a lot of good research and a good timeline, a good chronology, a good retelling. I really do hope that you guys check it out and support Meister on Twitter. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Lemon, no, shut up.
Should I
Well,
tell?
we love you guys. Don't forget, tomorrow, ladies only podcast. We're going to have, who's going to be? El Boogie, Pinky, and Des, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be us four ladies. The boys are going to be off for the night. Saturday, 9 a.m. CST, we will be starting our subathon live stream. We're going to be live for about 11 and a half, maybe 12 hours. We're going to be giving away PSN codes, Xbox codes, various games throughout the stream. We're sponsored by the wonderful Freedom Games. Thank you guys for giving us so many codes and so many games to play during the stream. We're going to have different shticks. All of us are going to do some cool things. So you'll just have to tune in and watch. So make sure to grab some snacks, grab some coffee. Maybe somebody's going to be doing some, whatchamacallem, like Overwatch or something. I don't know what we're all going to be doing because that's a long ass time. We're going to be streaming for about 2 hours each. So who knows what we're going to be doing in that time. All we're concerned about is entertaining y'all. No take two this week because that's Friday and that's going to be too close to the stream. Sunday, I still don't know if Starcross Gamers is coming back on Sunday or if it's officially moved to Monday. It's up in the air right now. Next Tuesday, we are not back, but that's the Wednesday where the boys will be back next week. So come in and join us there. We love you guys. I'm the Floor Hugger. You know where to find me and all that jazz. What you got for the people this week, Chacalaca?
Well, like I said, read my article this week, and I think this weekend we're actually not putting out a Ready Press Play. We're taking the week off, but next week on Ready Press Play, I'm gonna be putting out an episode. I think in the next week or two. I don't know when, but I'm gonna be counting down like the top 20 best games in the 80s, and I don't remember if it's on Thanksgiving week or Christmas week. I know it's already recorded. I'm sorry, but definitely keep an eye out for that because the 80s games has a lot of cool iconic franchise like the birth of the Mega Man series, like Mario popping off and stuff like that. So yeah, check it out.
That's true. Thank you, Don, for joining us. Thank you, Lemon. I'll see you in a bit, little asshole. Solar Flare, thank you for coming through for the first time ever and rocking out with us. Willie, I know you were here earlier. Salt Mines, you probably gone out and gone and been salty. Phil, thank you for coming out. We love all of you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.
Sada